All men cheat first, her best friend, Chloe, had once said, swirling the rim of her wine glass at a party we hosted. So why not level the playing field? I laughed at the time. I was an idiot. My wife, Natalie, wasn't always like this. When we got married, she was radiant, ambitious, someone I thought I could trust with my life. But something changed along the way, like a beautiful fruit left too long in the sun, she rotted from the inside. It started with the secrets. Late nights with the girls. Texts she tilted away from me. A smug little smile she wore when she thought I wasn't looking. I wasn't stupid. I knew something was off, but I let it slide, thinking maybe I was imagining things. Then, one night, she came home drunk, her hair a mess, her perfume mixed with the unmistakable scent of another man. And that was the moment I knew, my wife was a liar. But liars always think they're the smartest person in the room. I let her think that. Because I had my own plans. I didn't confront her right away. That would have been too easy. Too merciful. Instead, I played along. I kissed her cheek when she stumbled through the door at 2 a.m., pretending not to notice the way she flinched. I asked about her girls' nights, watching her lie so effortlessly it almost impressed me. Almost. The worst part? She didn't even respect me enough to cover her tracks properly. Lipstick on a wine glass that wasn't hers. A hotel receipt crumpled at the bottom of her purse. The way she suddenly started taking showers the moment she got home. Sloppy. But what really set me off was the audacity, the sheer fucking arrogance, of her friends. Chloe, the ringleader, the one who had always hated me, was the worst of them. She smirked when I walked into a room, like she knew something I didn't. Like she was in on the joke. And maybe she was. One night, I overheard them talking in the kitchen, their voices hushed but reckless. "God, Nat, your husband is so clueless," Chloe laughed. "You've got him wrapped around your little finger." Natalie giggled, the sound grating, mocking. "He's so desperate to believe I'd never do it. It's almost cute." Cute. That word echoed in my head, twisting something deep inside me. I had been patient. I had been understanding. But now? Now, I was done playing the fool. I stood in the doorway, watching them laugh at my expense. I could have walked in right then and there, grabbed Natalie by the wrist, dragged her out of my house, thrown her and her smug little friends into the street where they belonged. But no. That would have been too quick. I wanted them to suffer. So I forced a smile and stepped into the kitchen. "What's so funny?" Natalie barely missed a beat. "Oh, nothing, babe," she said, flipping her hair over her shoulder, eyes sparkling with deceit. "Just girl talk." Chloe gave me a lazy grin, swirling her wine glass like she was holding some great secret over me. I wanted to rip it out of her hand and smash it against the wall, watch the shards scatter at her feet. But I didn't. Instead, I leaned down and kissed my wife on the cheek, slow and deliberate, letting my lips linger just long enough to make her squirm. "Glad you're having fun," I murmured, my voice calm. Too calm. She shivered. A tiny, almost imperceptible reaction. But I saw it. For the first time, she was nervous. Good. Because I wasn't just going to catch her. I was going to destroy her. Patience. That's what this would take. Cold, calculated patience. Natalie thought she was in control. She thought I was some oblivious husband, a background character in her little story of betrayal. But she didn't realize something crucial. I had stopped loving her the moment I knew she had cheated. And when you stop loving someone, it becomes easy to hurt them. I started gathering evidence, methodically, silently. Every lie she told, every slip-up, every piece of proof she so carelessly left behind, I collected it all. Screenshots of her texts when she left her phone unattended, bank statements showing mysterious charges at expensive hotels, even security footage from our front door, capturing the times she stumbled in long past midnight. She was reckless. And recklessness always led to downfall. But I wasn't just going after her. No, that wouldn't be enough. Her friends, the ones who encouraged her, who laughed behind my back, who fueled her self-destruction, they were just as guilty. And I was going to make sure none of them got away unscathed. It wasn't just about revenge anymore. It was about justice. I started with Chloe. She was the ringleader, the poison in Natalie's ear, the one who had convinced her that cheating was some kind of game. She needed to be the first to fall. It wasn't hard to find her weak spot. Her boyfriend, Liam, Was a decent guy, loyal, hard-working, the type who would never expect his ride or die to stab him in the back. But I had seen the way Chloe operated. She treated men like playthings, something to use and discard when she got bored. I made sure Liam got the proof he needed. A few well-placed screenshots, a forwarded email here, an anonymous message there. It didn't take long. Within days, Chloe's world was unraveling. I heard the screaming match from my office, Liam throwing her shit onto the front lawn, calling her every name in the book while she sobbed and pleaded. I watched from my window, sipping my coffee. One down. Natalie had no idea I was behind it. She just clucked her tongue when Chloe called her, crying about how men were trash. I almost laughed. Because soon, she'd be next. With Chloe gone, Natalie started to notice the cracks forming. She wasn't as smug anymore. She checked her phone more often, biting her lip when she read messages. I could tell she was trying to keep things under control, trying to maintain the illusion that everything was fine. But the walls were closing in. I had to be careful, too much too soon, and she might catch on. I wanted her to feel safe, to think she was getting away with it. That's why I started playing the role of the doting husband again. Flowers. Dinner dates. Surprise gifts. I even started complimenting her more, watching as guilt flickered in her eyes. She was confused. And confusion made people sloppy. That's when I made my next move. I had gone through her phone enough times to know exactly who she was cheating with. Some pathetic excuse for a man named Ethan, a gym rat with more muscle than brains. He had no idea that I knew about him, and I planned to keep it that way. I set up a fake account and messaged him from a burner phone, pretending to be a woman interested in him. A few flirty messages, a well-placed invitation to hang out, and it wasn't long before he took the bait. Natalie had no idea that her side piece was about to get exposed. And when he did, she'd have no one left to run to. Ethan was predictable. The moment he thought another woman was interested, he took the bait like a starving animal. It didn't take long before he was sending texts that would make any girlfriend, or in this case, my wife, sick to her stomach. I pushed him further, coaxing out messages filled with promises, dirty secrets, and worst of all, confessions. I mean, yeah, she's fun, but she's getting clingy, he wrote. Married chicks always do. I almost laughed. This was the man my wife risked everything for? Some gym bro with the emotional depth of a puddle? It didn't matter, what mattered was that I had enough to ruin them both. But I wasn't ready to drop the bomb just yet. First, I needed to let Natalie feel truly comfortable. That night, I cooked dinner, her favorite meal, the one she used to beg me to make when we were still happy. She came home late, as usual, but when she saw the candlelit table, she hesitated. "What's all this?" she asked, setting her purse down. I smiled. Just wanted to do something nice for my wife. She blinked, caught off guard, then forced a smile. She was getting good at faking it. "That's sweet, babe." She sat across from me, playing with her fork, watching me like she was waiting for something. Guilt. A fight. Anything. I gave her nothing. Instead, I poured her a glass of wine and told her how much I loved her. How lucky I was to have her. How I couldn't wait to spend the rest of my life with her. And for a moment, just a moment, I saw it, the hesitation. The crack in her armor. She shifted uncomfortably, took a sip of wine, and avoided my eyes. Good. Because tomorrow, I was going to destroy everything she had left. The next morning, I executed the first strike. Natalie had a routine, gym first, then brunch with Chloe and the rest of her rotten little clique. She thought she was untouchable, that the lies she wove were airtight. But what she didn't realize was that I had already torn holes through every single one of them. While she was out, I sent Ethan's texts to her. Every single one. Screenshots of his messages, his crude jokes, his confession about how she was getting clingy. I made sure to highlight the ones where he openly admitted he didn't care about her. That she was just a side piece. Then, I turned off my phone. When she got home, she was pale. Her hands were shaking as she clutched her phone like it had betrayed her. I played my part perfectly. "Hey, babe," I greeted her from the couch, acting as if nothing had happened. "You okay?" She flinched. I need to talk to you." I set down my coffee, tilting my head. "About what?" She hesitated. She was calculating, trying to decide how much I knew. She still thought she could talk her way out of it. Nothing," she muttered. "Just had a rough morning." Liar. She walked past me into the bedroom and shut the door. I gave her a few minutes, just enough time to let the panic fully set in before I followed. When I opened the door, she was sitting on the bed, her hands in her hair, reading the messages over and over again as if she could will them into not existing. I leaned against the doorway. "Rough morning, huh?" Her head snapped up, eyes wide. "Checkmate." Natalie stared at me, her breath coming in quick, shallow bursts. She wasn't used to being on the back foot, wasn't used to feeling powerless. But for the first time since this all began, she knew, really knew, that something was wrong. She tried to play it off. "I don't know what this is," she said, waving her phone, her voice a carefully measured blend of frustration and confusion. "Someone's messing with me." I let out a short laugh. "Oh yeah?" I stepped closer. "You mean to tell me someone just happened to get Ethan's phone, write those messages, and send them to you?" She swallowed hard, her mind racing for an escape route. I could see the wheels turning, the calculations. She thought if she played the victim, she might still find a way out. "I don't know why you're being like this," she muttered, shaking her head. "It's like you want to believe the worst of me." There it was. The attempt to turn it back on me, to make me feel guilty. But I wasn't the same man she had been playing for months. I pulled out my own phone and opened a folder, one filled with screenshots, videos, bank transactions. Cold, hard evidence. And I tossed it onto the bed beside her. She didn't pick it up right away. She just stared at it, as if touching it would confirm her worst fears. "You are going to want to take a look at that," I said, my voice quiet, almost gentle. When she finally opened it, her face drained of color. I watched as she scrolled, her hands trembling, her mouth parting slightly in shock. There was no room for denial. No chance to spin the narrative. She looked up at me, her expression a mixture of fear and fury. "You went through my phone?" I smiled. "Oh, sweetheart. I did more than that." She slammed the phone shut. This isn't fair. You invaded my privacy." I laughed. "Privacy? You lost the right to that the moment you spread your legs for another man." The slap came before she even thought about it. A sharp, desperate reaction. But I barely felt it. If anything, it only confirmed that she knew she was beaten. She wasn't mad because I caught her. She was mad because she got caught. I exhaled slowly, rubbing my jaw as she stood there, shaking, seething. "I'm going to destroy you," I whispered. And for the first time, Natalie looked truly afraid. Natalie's face twisted into something ugly, rage, fear, desperation, all colliding at once. She knew she had lost control. She just didn't know how badly. "You think you're some kind of saint?" She spat, her voice shaking. "Like you're the perfect husband? You drove me to this." I laughed, an actual, full-bodied laugh that made her flinch. It was incredible how quickly cheaters resorted to blame shifting when the truth cornered them. "I drove you to spread your legs for Ethan?" I said, crossing my arms. "Yeah, sure, Nat. That makes perfect sense." Her nostrils flared. "You don't get it. You don't listen to me. You don't make me feel wanted anymore." I stepped closer, lowering my voice. "You mean the way Ethan makes you feel? The guy who called you clingy and was already lining up his next girl?" That shut her up. She blinked rapidly, her breath coming out in sharp little gasps. This was the moment it truly hit her, not just that she was caught, but that everything she had built with Ethan was a lie. He never cared about her. He was just using her. Good. I wanted her to feel that betrayal. I wanted her to drown in it. "Get out," she whispered suddenly. I raised an eyebrow. "Excuse me?" "Get out of my house," she screeched, grabbing a lamp and hurling it at the wall. It shattered just inches from me, but I didn't flinch. I just smiled. "My house," I corrected her. "Paid for by my money. In my name. You? You don't have a damn thing." Her eyes widened, the realization sinking in. "And then I went in for the kill. By the way, I said all of this to Chloe and the rest of your little friends," I said casually. "I figured they'd appreciate knowing just how much of a fool you made of yourself." The sound she made was almost inhuman. She lunged at me, fists flying, but I caught her wrists with ease and shoved her back onto the bed. "You don't get to be the victim, Natalie," I said, my voice cold now. "Not this time." Tears welled up in her eyes, But I wasn't falling for it. Not again. I leaned down, inches from her face. "This is only the beginning," I whispered. Then I turned and walked out, leaving her in the wreckage of her own making. I left Natalie in that bedroom, but I wasn't done. Not even close. She thought she could throw me out? That she could claw her way out of this mess with screaming and fake tears? No. She was about to learn what it felt like to have everything ripped away, piece by piece, just like she had done to me. The first thing I did was make a call. "Hey, Greg," I said smoothly. "Yeah, I need you to move forward with the paperwork. Today." Greg, my lawyer, had been ready for this moment for weeks. I had quietly been putting things into motion long before Natalie ever suspected I knew the truth. Divorce, asset protection, financial separation, it was all lined up like dominoes. And now? Now, I was finally tipping them over. By the end of the day, the locks on our house would be changed. Our joint accounts? Frozen. Her access to my credit cards? Revoked. She wouldn't even have money to buy herself a goddamn coffee. But I wasn't stopping there. Natalie loved her image. She thrived on being the perfect wife, the one who had it all: friends, luxury, status. So I made sure to send Ethan's texts, our financial records, and every last piece of evidence to the people who mattered most in her world. Her friends. Her boss. Her family. Within an hour, my phone buzzed with furious messages from her. "Natalie, you son of a bitch. Natalie, what the hell did you do? Natalie, answer me." I didn't. I simply sent back a single message. "Me, actions have consequences. Enjoy." Then, I blocked her number. I sat back, watching the chaos unfold from a safe distance. I imagined her frantically calling her friends, only to find out they had turned their backs on her. That Chloe, oh, sweet, hypocritical Chloe, was already tearing her apart in their group chat, pretending she had never encouraged the affair in the first place. I imagined her storming into work, only to find out that her boss, who had always respected me, was suddenly looking at her with disgust. I imagined her calling Ethan for comfort. And then realizing that he had blocked her too. Because, of course, I sent everything to his girlfriend as well. Natalie had spent months thinking she was untouchable, that she could lie and cheat and manipulate her way through life. She was about to learn just how wrong she was. Natalie had always been good at talking her way out of trouble. She could cry on command, twist words until they lost all meaning, and make herself the victim even when she was holding the knife. But not this time. This time, the walls were closing in, and there was no escape. I kept my distance, but I knew exactly what was happening. Her texts had gone silent, but through mutual friends, I heard the fallout was brutal. Chloe had thrown her under the bus almost immediately. I had no idea she was actually cheating. She lied to their friends, acting like she hadn't been the one egging her on from the start. I told her it was just flirting. I never thought she'd take it that far. Classic. Her work situation? A disaster. Her boss wasn't just disappointed, he was furious. Turns out, sleeping around and making a mockery of your marriage isn't the best look when you're in a company that values strong family values. She wasn't fired, but she was put on probation. Every promotion she had been gunning for? Gone. And then, there was her family. Her parents had always liked me. Maybe more than they liked their own daughter, if I'm being honest. When they saw the proof, they were mortified. "She's not the girl we raised," her mother had told me over the phone, her voice tight with shame. I don't know what to say. I did. I said nothing. Because Natalie had spent months betraying me, lying to me, humiliating me. Now, she could sit in the silence she created. But the best part? Ethan, her oh-so-loyal side piece, had abandoned her completely. Apparently, his girlfriend didn't just dump him, she wrecked him. Exposed him at his gym, blasted his messages all over social media, and made sure every woman in his circle knew exactly what kind of man he was. He panicked. Deleted all his accounts. Moved out of his apartment in the middle of the night. And Natalie? She had no one left to turn to. For the first time since this started, she was truly, completely alone. And I wasn't done yet. I gave it a few days. Let her stew in her own filth, let the world around her crumble piece by piece. And then, when she was at her weakest, I took the last thing she had left, our home. I had already spoken to my lawyer, already put everything in motion. The house was in my name, The mortgage paid by my income. Legally, she had no claim to it. And now that our divorce proceedings were officially underway, I had every right to kick her out. So I did. She was in the kitchen when I walked in that evening, her hair disheveled, her eyes swollen from crying. The once proud woman who used to smirk behind my back now looked small, pathetic. She tried to act tough when she saw me. "You think you've won?" She spat, her voice hoarse. "You think ruining my life makes you the better person?" I just tossed an envelope onto the counter. "What's this?" she demanded, snatching it up. "Eviction notice," I said simply. Her face went pale. You can't do this." "I can," I said, leaning against the doorframe. And I did. "You've got 48 hours to pack your shit and get out." She shook her head, laughing bitterly. "Where the hell am I supposed to go?" I shrugged. "Not my problem." She clenched her fists, her whole body trembling with rage. "You are a fucking monster." I smiled. "And you're a liar. A cheat. A coward. So tell me, Natalie, which one of us really deserves sympathy here?" Silence. For the first time, she had nothing to say. I turned to leave, pausing only once at the doorway. "Oh, and one more thing," I said, glancing over my shoulder. "Don't even think about taking anything that isn't yours. I've cataloged everything. Try to steal from me, and I'll make sure you regret it." She opened her mouth, maybe to beg, maybe to scream, but I didn't care anymore. I walked away, leaving her standing there with nothing but her tears. And for the first time in months, I felt truly free. Natalie tried to fight it. Of course she did. She spent the next 48 hours calling everyone she could, hoping someone, anyone, would take her in. But Chloe and the others had already distanced themselves, pretending they had no idea what kind of person she was. Her parents weren't exactly thrilled to take her back either. Her options? None. The night before she had to leave, she tried one last desperate attempt to sway me. I was in my office, finishing up some last-minute work when I heard her soft knock on the door. I didn't even look up. "What do you want?" I just want to talk," she said, her voice different now. Smaller. Almost broken. I leaned back in my chair, watching her. She looked like a mess, no makeup, her clothes wrinkled, her usual arrogance completely drained from her face. I didn't say anything. I just waited. She swallowed hard. "I messed up." I raised an eyebrow. "No shit." She flinched but pushed forward. I never meant to hurt you. I thought," her voice wavered. "I don't know what I thought. But I do know that I ruined everything, and I can't fix it." I nodded. "Sounds about right." She blinked rapidly, trying to hold back tears. "Is there really nothing left? Not even a chance to fix this?" That made me laugh. "Fix this? Natalie, this wasn't a mistake. This wasn't a drunken one-night stand. This was months of lying, sneaking around, humiliating me while your friends laughed behind my back." She wiped at her eyes, but I could tell she knew. She had lost. "I miss you," she whispered. "I miss us." For a second, just a second, I felt something. A ghost of what we used to be. And then I remembered. I remembered the nights I sat at home while she was with another man. I remembered the way she smirked with Chloe, acting like I was some clueless fool. I remembered the look in her eyes when she thought she had gotten away with it. And I smiled. "I don't miss you," I said, my voice calm. Her face crumpled, and for the first time, I saw real pain there. Good. Maybe she'd remember this moment for the rest of her life. "Now," I said, leaning forward, my tone colder than ever. "Get the fuck out of my house." She did. And I didn't watch her leave. The house was silent. For the first time in years, I felt like I could breathe again. No more fake smiles. No more lies. No more Natalie. I didn't check to see where she went after I threw her out. I didn't care. I imagined her dragging her suitcase through the cold night, desperate for a place to stay, realizing that every bridge she had relied on was burned beyond repair. She had always been good at manipulating people, but this time? There was no one left to lie to. And I wasn't done. I made sure every legal detail was airtight. She wouldn't get a cent from me. No spousal support. No hidden accounts to fall back on. Every financial door she thought she could slip through had already been locked and bolted. Greg, my lawyer, Called me the next morning. It's done. She's officially removed from everything. I smirked. Good. She tried to contest it, he added, amusement lacing his tone. Claimed you were being vindictive. I laughed. She's just mad she lost. Pretty much. He paused. I assume you don't want updates on where she ends up? No, I said. She's not my problem anymore. And she wasn't. For the first time in a long time, I felt weightless. That night, I poured myself a glass of whiskey and sat on the back patio, staring up at the sky. I thought about how much of my life I had wasted on her. How much I had sacrificed for someone who never deserved it. And then, just like that, I let it all go. Natalie was gone. The revenge was complete. And I was finally free.